overtime here at Old Favorite Friday, where we are continuing the conversation about this very delicious, incredible seasonal beer in Celebration by Sierra Nevada. Now, Mike, you talk about this beer all the time, year round.
Yeah, in my sleep.
You always want to talk about this beer. In fact, at my wedding, you stood up, you gave a nice 5-minute speech about myself and my wife, then you talked for 15 minutes about Celebration. Do I remember that correctly?
Ooh, I drank a lot at your wedding. Not any celebration.
No.
So that could have happened.
Yeah,
plausible.
It probably happened. So now here's your chance. The world is open to you. There's at least 7 people watching this on YouTube. You can talk about Celebration all you want.
The world is open. World Cup. Kevin should have said we're in extra time instead of overtime. He missed out on that cultural reference.
Good jokes.
But I mean, this is a beer that in theory should be something that you could get year round. I mean, there's nothing really that makes it seasonal to this. They call it a fresh hop beer. It's pellets. It's not wet hop. It's just the new crop year of hops, and that's really the thing that they hang their seasonality hat on. But holy fuck, this is, I can say that, right?
You can now.
I can now. But this is something that, I mean, you can find a malty, citrusy IPA like this year round. You're not going to because no one makes them anymore. But I mean, it is kind of crazy though that if this beer was available year round, no one would care about it. Probably. But when this comes, that's our market.
Okay.
But the minute November comes around and this starts dropping throughout the country, almost everyone is looking for it.
Well, people lose their minds.
Yeah.
That's an important thing to understand. Yeah, this beer goes very, very quickly. And to follow up what you're saying, but also to give a little context, people should care about this beer because this beer is incredible. Whether or not it was year-round or not, the beer is wonderful. It has bitterness. It has maltiness. It has everything you're looking for in an IPA. But our segment of the craft beer culture doesn't seem to value this kind of beer nearly as much year-round. But when the seasonality kicks into it, when the nostalgia comes in of Celebration being back in town, people just can't, they lose their minds.
Yeah, and the fact that it is this seasonal beer that doesn't taste like what you think the season is. It's not nutmeg and cinnamon and allspice, and it's not 12% ABV and thick and viscous. It
doesn't have a silly punny name related to Christmas.
No, it is just a word related
Celebration,
to.
yeah.
I mean, that can really be any holiday, any cultural, personal event you celebrate. But it's a great red can. But man, this beer has been something that has been a part of my life since I first found it. And you know, there's a funny story that I always bring up on this beer. When I first started getting into beer, we used to have a little meetup group in the Boca Raton area that was named after the town. And it was headed up by a gentleman who I'm not going to name, but he swore that this beer used to have coriander in it, and that it used to be so much better when they put coriander in it. And as a newbie into beer, I was like, interesting, okay. I believed it. I just was like, oh, this guy's been into beer for a long time. He knows his stuff probably. They've never put coriander in this beer, ever. And they actually made a point of saying something about that a few years ago. And I'm like, oh, look at them saying the thing about the thing.
And you've been waiting all this time to go on the internet and just shove that back in his face, a person who would never see this video.
No.
Right? But I applaud you for that. It's good to hold a grudge. It's good to get back.
I'm great at holding grudges.
It's good to get back at those who have been wrong in the past. I wonder if like a beer around this time of year for Sierra Nevada had coriander at one point and people conflated two things together. If many people
It
thought
might have been
or
a
something.
completely different brewery's beer.
That very well could have been the case. Listen, I really do. I enjoy this beer a lot. We talk a lot on Old Favorite Friday videos about classic West Coast style IPAs and bitterness in beer. Some of the more malt forward IPAs that we were seeing years and years ago that I really enjoyed, and the nice balance of those. Excuse me. I get all of that here. I get that rich malt flavor. I get nice, well integrated, non-intrusive hop bitterness. And what I mean is, like, it's not the focus. It's not like bitterness for the sake of bitterness. It folds well into the
I
whole
completely
thing.
forgot that there is bitterness to this until you just said it, and I was like, oh yeah, there is some bitterness there.
Yeah, and all those like piney, resiny hops, the citrus hops. I mean, it just really is. And you know what I think it is? I think this not only reminds me of the holiday season because it's been with us for our entire craft beer journey, but it reminds me of just great craft beer, right? It brings up all those ideas of those classic West Coast IPAs, the beers that were so popular when we were getting into the craft beer industry. And that I have nostalgia for because we just don't see them very often. And we've talked about it here at the brewery. And we got to do this like a classic West Coast IPA. Instead of, I love doing the New England stuff. I like aspects of where the industry is. I'm not trying to say that's a bad thing. But we do fall off and miss out on these classic styles sometimes. And it
You've
takes...
done some of them on here. You did Hop Can.
Oh no, I'm talking about at the brewery drinking, making these beers, not just.
Oh, yeah,
Old Favorite Friday. Oh no, one of the things we do on Old Favorite Friday very often is feature
West
those
Coast
beers
IPAs.
because we miss them, and they're still out there. They're still out there cranking out great beer. I mean, hell, one of the first Old Favorite Friday videos ever was on Torpedo, and still an absolutely incredible beer. And to focus on that, Sierra Nevada, great beers, consistently for decades, right? Another great seasonal beer. There's beers that I'm still trying to find. I can't find Kellerweiss anymore. I don't even know if they still make it.
I don't know if they make it.
But that beer was absolutely wonderful. What a wonderful beer. I've wanted to find it for Old Favorite Friday. Just through their entire portfolio, you can't miss.
I recently picked up they have a variety pack that you can get at Costco. It's called like the Weekend Pack or something like that. And it's a 6-pack each of Pale Ale, Torpedo, Dankful, which is a really good hoppy West Coast double IPA, and Cold Torpedo, which is a cold IPA. And they're all so good. And the cold IPA is very good. And I'm like, this is so awesome that this brewery can put out a pack that is like cold IPA is, created in Oregon. It's a lager for all intents and purposes. It's oxymoronic, but it still tastes very West Coast with the hops that they use. It's such a great pack. If you love West Coast IPA, go find that.
Well, you sold me because I have to go to Costco later on today and I'm going to pick up one of those. I'm going to also go to my local beer shop and pick up one more 6-pack of these before they're gone. In fact, I bought a 12-pack of this beer 2 weeks ago. To do this, I brought it to the brewery. They're all gone. Just the brew staff just saw it. They got excited. They grabbed them. I can't blame them. Everybody wants this beer. So go get Celebration while you can. Support Sierra Nevada in general. Go to Costco, get their variety pack. Just drink good classic beers by an absolutely incredible brewery. And then also look at some other videos that we have on our YouTube channel and see some other conversations. We talked about Sam Smith's Oatmeal Stout. Oatmeal Stout
yeah.
Once before with Mike. But we do tons of these deep dives into these beers and talk about beers that we love and classic styles. And we hope you love them too. We'll see you next time. Cheers.
Chin chin.